Hi, my name is Liz Schlemer, and I am teaching IME 315, Financial Decision Making for Engineers. This video is an introduction to the course. So we will be covering 4 areas of analysis and information in this class. The first is investment analysis. The second is reporting and managing profits. The third is costs of products. And the fourth is all of this done within environmental, social, political, and economic context. And I'm going to go over each of these topics and talk about what they mean in a general sense. So the first is investment analysis. This kind of analysis is when you are getting or receiving or spending money over time. So both of those things have to be happening, money and time. And we usually express it in a timeline like this, where the down arrows indicate you are investing money or giving it away, and the up arrows indicate that you're getting that money back. And this is a timeline going from left to right with time 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way to time period n. And you can see there's upward arrows in 1 and 2 and n. Now, the basic assumptions in this kind of analysis is that everything can be expressed in terms of money. So even things like quality can be converted to money, and you might do something like, well, if it's higher quality, we can get higher prices, and that's money. There are some things in this world that can't be expressed in money, but those are usually sort of ignored in an investment analysis of this type. We always try to maximize the monetary value, so we try to get more money is always better. And also there's a very basic concept in this kind of analysis that money earns interest over time. So you can put money in a bank and the banker will pay you interest over time. And that's another basic assumption. Now, who and why would you need to know this kind of analysis method? It's used in stock market investing. You're going to invest in particular stock and you hope it will pay dividends or increase in price over time. So you would want to use this kind of analysis in that event. Real estate investment, again, it's usually long-term over time. There's costs associated with that and benefits. Startups, so startups don't just happen immediately. You make an investment initially in hopes of latter returns. So again, that's money over time. And also, any engineering project that spans more than just 1 year would need to be evaluated as investing over a period of time. Now, the second type of analysis methods that we're going to be looking at is reporting and managing profits. So in this case, we're going to sort of dive a little bit into accounting and accounting statements and try to understand what they mean. So there's 3 basic kinds of accounting statements that we're going to be looking at: net earnings, balance sheets, and sources and uses of funds. And this is just an example of an income statement, which is very much the same thing as a net earnings statement. So we will have a conversation about the wording associated with accounting and then how to read these kinds of reports. And then who would care about this? Well, if you're an operations manager, which I hope someday you won't be an engineer your whole life, that you actually will be managing people, you will have to understand the performance of your operation. And so you'll need to know how to read these kinds of accounting statements. Any business owner will want to know how much profit they're making, and then also over time, how much the value of their business is growing. And that would be showing in the balance sheet. The other thing that a business owner wants to know is how they're spending their money, and that's in the sources and uses of funds statement. Startup ventures, they most all the time are aware of sources and uses of funds, making sure they have enough money to pay their bills because they're often running on kind of a short leash. So that's startup ventures definitely look at that, but also profit or net earnings and balance sheet. If they are wanting somebody to invest with them, they will want to have a good understanding of the kinds of profits that an investor might be able to make. The third analysis techniques is cost of products. So when you start making something, manufacturing it or buying it, you'll want to understand the fully allocated cost of that product. So when we talk about fully allocated costs, what we're talking about is the cost of the raw materials, the cost of the labor to make the thing, and then the cost of the overhead in order to support the making of the products. And so there's methods associated with calculating each of these in order to get fully allocated costs. Who and why would care about this? Again, managers of operations, especially managers of manufacturing operations, care about what is the cost of their product. Business owners want to make sure they're making a profit, so they want to look at how they're pricing it versus how it's costing. Startup ventures, for sure, this is very important for them to understand how much money they're actually making when they're selling a product. And then pricing and marketing. When you actually know the cost of your product, you will be able to set prices and then determine marketing kind of strategies associated with where's that bottom line of the cost of the product. Now, the last area that we'll be covering throughout the whole content of the course is looking at all of these analysis techniques that are done within the environmental, social, political, and economic context. So we're doing engineering decision making. That's what we're learning how to do. How do engineers make decisions? How do we look at financial issues? But we also must know that these kinds of things are done within the context. So for us, that means the context of capitalism in our society, the context that there are great wealth inequities, that the workers in a company make far, far, far less than the CEOs of the companies. And there's also wealth inequities across the planet. Many people have access to resources that a lot of other people do not. Also issues associated with climate change, because this is a long term. We often look at these investments over time. We will really care about how climate change might impact financial decisions. Also within the context of the military industrial complex. That is a context in which the United States works, and we need to understand what that means. Also, there's much discrimination and bias, and we want to be careful about that when we do these kinds of engineering decision makings. There's many, many other issues and contexts that we would care about as engineers, because we want to do good engineering, but we also want to understand the context in which we do that engineering. So this particular video covered investment analysis, reporting and managing profits, cost of products, and all that done within the environmental and the social contexts.